Hello and welcome back to another edition of Bluebaggers Edge, and we come to you this time with some announcements around delistings, and just goes to show that the postseason is in full swing, and good to see the club reacting off the back of what was a terrible way to end the season, really. Not really much you can say beyond that. Of course, the first round of delistings, and honestly, I will say that from the outset, the club is on the right track. Obviously, you feel for those players that have had their paper stamped, and, I guess looking at the list of those that have been delisted, given three of the main delistings share the same trait of, lacking durability and being consistently injured, in light of our injury issues this year, it does make sense. When you're struck with injuries to your best 22, which we were towards the back end of the year, and your perennial injured depth players are, injured, it does expose you massively, and that happened to us definitely in 2024. Unfortunately, you can only carry so many of these types of players on your list, I think, at any one time, and, we've kind of, not grown frustrated with them, but I think we've run out of a little bit of patience with regards to some of these players that we have let go, considering that we've poured a fair amount of time into allowing them to get their bodies right and, hopefully recapture the, or at least, reach the capacity of what we're hoping with regards to their talents, but just wasn't to be. Let's now have a look at our first player that we have given the chop. And as you can see here, it is Jack Martin. Unfortunately for him, time has run out. So he had played for the Navy Blue 52 matches of a potential 115 regular season games and played in an additional 2 finals. He obviously came to us on big money via a front-ended deal via the preseason draft, of course. And whilst it didn't cost us trade capital as such, it did tie up a fair chunk of coin in our salary cap. Thankfully, it didn't really hurt us as much as what it could have. We have been fortunate enough that we have retained our key players who have come out of contract across the journey whilst Jack Martin has been in the Navy Blue. He's now 29 years of age, so we really can't afford to be patient with his injury issues, which haven't really relented in his time at the club. Even when he was at Gold Coast as well, he was struggling with a fair bit of durability issues and whatnot, and just unfortunately coming to us. I think, looking, as you can see there, at the number of games that he played at the Suns, he was quite lucky, actually, 2017 and 2016, to play 21 and 22 games. But outside of that, he ended up playing 11, 12, 15, and 16. And then that kind of was a bit of the running trend when he was with us, with 15 games, 11, 12, 13, and of course just the 3 this season. It got to the stage where a calf niggle was almost a foregone conclusion after he played a single game in recent times. In the side one week and then out of the side next with a calf injury or hamstring or some other soft tissue injury. I guess there has been a bit of whispers and a bit of news coming out in recent days about him potentially having done a medical at Fremantle, and given his talents, I do think that he will be picked up, whether or not it's at Freo or somewhere else. I do think that he will be picked up as a delisted free agent. I know there may be some supporters out there thinking, why has the club delisted him when we could have traded him? In all honesty, I just think making the statement as the club has done by trading him is probably just as valuable compared to what we would be able to get for him in return if we were to trade him. I mean, as I said, he's 29 years old, struggled with durability issues across his entire career since he started in the AFL at 2014. If anything, it just would be loose change that we would receive in return for Jack Martin. We're probably doing him a favour as well in return by delisting him, just to allow him to walk to another club. No bad blood at all, obviously, with Jackie Martin. He tried to do the right thing by us with how he ended up coming to the club via the preseason draft, walked to us where really he could have, thrown his arms up in the air when he was at the Suns and said, no, I want the Suns to be reimbursed. They tried to do the dirty on him, and as it turned out, we were able to get him in the preseason draft. But that is that with Jackie Martin. It is, as I said, unfortunate because he did play quite a few good games for us. Like in the final series last year, we do know the impact that he had coming straight in, really nice marking forward as well. Can play, sort of almost as a bit of a tall, given his leap. The big knock in his game, and it always has been, that he is very slight, but given his wiry frame, it does allow him to be a bit more aerobic and can play as a bit of a small as well. But, showed some nice patches with us, but not consistently enough. And again, it was that durability that really did hold him back, unfortunately. So that's Jack Martin in a nutshell, virtually. We wish him all the best if he does continue on his career at another club. Next up, we do have Caleb Marchbank, and this just really sums up the durability issues that this man had himself as well. Only managed 56 matches of a potential 138 regular season games. Hasn't played more than 16 games in a season as well, as you can see there on screen, courtesy of Willow Ratings, of course. And yeah, that breakdown there in terms of matches played his first 2 seasons at the Giants, obviously, and we were able to pick him up from them as, one of the better key position defenders from his draft year. So I remember when we did pick him up, and I was super excited, and I thought, here we go, this is going to really, help complement the likes of Wiedering and so on and so forth. But, obviously he just wasn't to be. Unfortunately, 8 seasons to get his body right, and he wasn't able to do so. So, that in itself is pretty bad. Missed 2 full seasons as well across 2020 and 2021. So he's actually quite fortunate, I think, to have been kept on for an additional 3 seasons beyond that, where he's only managed 15 games in that time that we've had him on since then. So, we've afforded him a fair bit of time, as I said, 8 seasons to get his body right, and just he wasn't able to do so, unfortunately. But worse yet, I think, aside from that, is he is probably one of the more renowned injury-prone players that has been impacted by these soft tissue injuries that he has sustained across the journey, because it has impacted his mobility and speed off the mark, especially, which is obviously something you need as a key position defender in order to keep your opponent in check. And I think it's something that I imagine the fitness staff and the club as a whole have worked out that, he's going to be struggling to be able to recapture that sort of, I guess, traits that you do need as a key position defender. So of all the players, I think, from this list that have been delisted, I do almost shed a virtual tear for, and it is Caleb Marchbank, because, as I said, he came to us with huge raps, got him as a virtual bargain, I think, from the Giants. And yeah, it's just a case of one of those players that, whose talents I think we'll look back on and think of what could have been, and be a virtual bit of a waste of talent, I think. But through no fault of his own, it's just virtually just the injuries that he was copping, and it was just relentless. And he's, some players just don't have the body built to play senior footy, and it looks like Marchbank is definitely one of them. So all the very best to March if he does go on and play at another club, and wish him all the success if he can get his body right. Let's move on now to the third delistee, and it is Cunners Dave Cunningham. Across 9 seasons, Cunners was only able to play 58 of a possible 207, if you don't mind, regular season games, and struggled to manage any more than 12 games in a single season, as you can see there on screen. Was drafted at pick 23 alongside, it was almost the super draft for us, I think, and probably arguably our best draft in a long, long while. He was drafted alongside Weeders, Harry, Charlie, and Sauce. Did, of course, show flashes of his talent across the journey. Played up forward, played through the middle at various stages throughout his time in the Navy Blue, but was another, I think, talented player, plagued by injury issues, and, flashed a bit of that talent at different stages. And most memorable game for me would have been going back a few seasons now. We actually polled the 3 Brownlow votes against the Dons in 2020. Courtesy of 28 disposals, 2 behinds, did it all really. He was incredible, and I thought that was the game there where we might have seen him break out. The games following that, he kind of reverted back to, I think that at the time he was played up forward, and he wasn't afforded the time on ground in the midfield, and outside of that, he kind of was in and out of the side. 2021, same sort of thing, injuries, form. 2023 was able to play quite a few games, 12, and played the 2 finals last year. Didn't play the best, but leading into it looked like he was getting a little bit of form up his sleeve. And then, of course, this year, in and out of the side, and when he was able to break his way back in, which was in round 20 and round 21 as the sub, and then in round 21 within the first moments of the game against Port Adelaide, he went down with that shoulder injury, I think it was. So yeah, in his time, he's had quite a few injuries. Injuries to his hip, knee, calf, shoulder, and yeah, just another player that I think time has unfortunately run out for. And yeah, we've afforded him enough time for him to get his body right, and again, just hasn't happened. So these players in Martin, Marchie, and Cunners, again, a lot of these players were, have quite a bit of talent about them, and could have been regular contributors, I think, in an alternate universe if he wasn't injured. So moving on now to a couple of rookies that we have bid farewell to, and it is Murkov, Alex Murkov. I'll bring his stats up on screen here, as you can see, and this is courtesy of DFS Australia, and these are the stats breakdowns for his games in the VFL. Did arrive at the club in 2021 as a mid-season rookie after impressing in the Carlton reserves. Had battled with heart issues as well in recent times, the poor fella, but showed development to be extended on his previous contract and now finds himself on the scrap heap. But will say that with Hudson O'Keefe brought on to the list as our developing ruck in 2023 as a SSP signing, and having signed most recently a 2-year extension in June, it would seem time has run out for Murkov, unfortunately, despite showing promise at various stages in the VFL. As you can see here, the breakdown of stats. So he did have games there where he was quite dominant in the ruck, but you can probably tell there in terms of the goal column, he doesn't do too much up forward. Obviously, predominantly a ruckman, but the rucks, I think, nowadays, you need to be a dual threat. If you're not, overly dominant in the ruck, and even if you are, I think you almost need to have that up your sleeve, that extra string to your bow, really, to be a goal-kicking tall forward as well. That's just the way of the game. I think you need to be a bit more flexible, and unfortunately with Murkov, that isn't really the case for him. It's unfortunate, I think, because there were quite a few raps with him, with his development as he was coming on. But yeah, just really wasn't to be. More of I think, an old-school type ruckman, in the mould of like a Pitnet. Big fella as well, big frame, but yeah, as we know with TDK, and we've already got Pitt, and then as I said with O'Keefe coming in, yeah, that it means that we do have a little bit of depth, if we want to call it that, behind both of those guys there, and who knows, we might try and target another youngster in the draft, but we'll have to wait and see. And then finally, of course, we do have Dom Aquay, who was brought in as a Category B rookie via Carlton's Next Gen Academy and was developed as an athletic, tall defender. Came close to a debut against West Coast, of course, when the club was hit hardest with injuries, but was unable to make his debut across his time in the Navy Blue. Poet didn't know it. But yeah, it's sometimes unfortunate, I think, with good old Dom. He was spoken about quite highly, I think, in terms of his development, how it was coming on. As you can see there on screen, that's a breakdown of his stats, but I mean, it's hard to read into a player based on their stats when they are a key defender. Champion data, unfortunately, don't. They're not forthcoming when it comes to handing across stats with regards to, I guess, goals conceded to an opponent, in order to get a better read on defenders that I could probably break down better with Marchbank and Dom Aquay as well. But yeah, it's just one of those things, I think, that they've assessed things, assessed his development, his progression in his time at the club, and unfortunately hasn't hit the mark, you would think. And part of the reason why he was so close to making his debut against West Coast was, arguably due to the fact that, we only had a small, I guess, number of players available that were declared fit to face West Coast that week. So no real surprise there, but it is unfortunate. It is what it is, but wishing him all the best as well for the future if he does get picked up by another club, or, even his endeavours outside of footy. But that is virtually it. In terms of, I guess, summarising it, as I said from the top, I am quite happy with the fact that the club has come out and taken this stance. As I said, our depth was tested at various stages throughout the season, especially towards the back end of the year. And when that depth wasn't available in the form of especially Marchbank, Cunners, who we had to rely upon, it just really came back to bite us even harder, and exposed us really for the lack of depth that we do have in the side. So It is, as I said, unfortunate for these players to be given the old heave-ho, but they've been given time across the journey, namely, of course, Martin, Cunners and Marchie, but yeah, it is what it is. That's the nature of footy, and I think we're at the stage now where we need to be making these calls in order to further progress the team and hopefully build a bit of depth that if we need to rely upon it again, knock on wood that we don't, but if we need to, that we're going to have healthy, fit players that are talented and capable enough to step in when needed. And no real knock on in terms of talent across any of those three guys. But yeah, first and foremost, if you're not fit, you're going to find it hard to really have a sustained, run at senior level or, even on an AFL list. So that's it. That's the first rounds of changes that the club has made in terms of delistings. Wait and see what the next round of changes are going to look like. I think Sam Durden is probably one player that I was surprised not to see on that list, but I think the club will be waiting for confirmation of getting their hands on Nick Haynes. Considering that we have chopped Marchbank as one of our depth key position defenders, which is running quite dry, I think it makes sense that we're holding on to Durden for the time being, just to find out where things lie with regards to that. Outside of that, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you think any of these players have been hard done by? I think the club, as I said earlier, is on the exact same track of where I'm hoping they would be, clearing the deadwood and clearing the lack of, I guess, these players are exposing us for a lack of depth. They've had a fair bit of time to get their bodies right, and unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I think Jack Martin, some people may be questioning, again, why didn't the club try and trade him? I think opposition clubs probably know that if they just hold back and don't offer anything for him, then the club's gonna delist him and they'll get him for free. So why waste time in trying to do a bit of a merry dance with opposition teams and trying to get something out of it? And yeah, by cutting ties with him already, it just means that we're setting a bit of a standard, I think, which probably counts for more. And yeah, it means that Jack Martin can walk to the club that he wants to, if he wants to continue his AFL career, if there is another opportunity elsewhere. But that's it for another video. And of course, as I said, leave your thoughts down below. If you are new to the channel and have yet to subscribe, feel free to do so as well, because it does help our channel grow. And we are very, very appreciative of that. But until next time, we will catch you in the next video. All the best. Go Baggers.
Have you ever heard